Hello friends, Clage back with part 2 of the XRD System Mechanics Primers. Today we're going to be talking about offense. If you haven't watched the first part, I highly recommend checking that first. To give a quick refresher, these guides are meant to highlight the major differences between the XRD series and primarily how it compares to Guilty Gear Strive. These guides are mostly meant to be for people who started with Strive and have not played a legacy Guilty Gear or who had never checked out XRD, and it's to show the major differences in the system mechanics between those two games to help make that transition easier for those of you who are going to be checking out XRD with the rollback netcode beta coming up later this month, and then the permanent rollback netcode implementation, which is tentatively scheduled for sometime next year. So this is going to be primarily a Strive comparison, but if you've played very little of the legacy Guilty Gears, this should be some useful information to you. And today, we're going to talk about offensive options. I'm going to do my best to keep this short, just like I did the first video about movement and recovery. However, there are a lot of differences in your offensive options when it comes to XRD compared to Strive, so this one might be a tad bit longer. I'll see what I can do. Most importantly, this is going to be discussing things like buttons and normals, throws, supers, aka overdrive, stuff like that. This is not going to be talking about specific stuff like every character's special moves or individual properties, nor am I going to be discussing Roman Cancel as an offensive option. Roman Cancel is far too robust and too important to this game, just like it is in every Guilty Gear, to mix in with the other mechanics, so it will get its own primer here down the road. So let's talk offensive options in XRD compared to Strive. So the first thing you will notice about XRD compared to Strive is that your normals are far less restrictive both in their options for Gatlings, aka chaining normals into one another to create combos or pressure, and their options for being jump cancelable or special cancelable. So the first thing you will see is that Gatlings are much less restrictive than they are in Strive. Characters all have some unique Gatlings. There is no universal Gatling rule in Guilty Gear XRD, but for the most part, for most of the normal characters that you're going to pick up, you can chain one button into the next button of the higher strengths. You can literally go punch, kick, slash, hard slash, dust, and I'll just implement right here. Skipped hard slash when it dust, but you get my point. You can also chain punches into other things that are not just command normals. For example, if you catch someone with a crouching punch, easy confirm into a sweep for a hard knockdown. That is totally viable in XRD. Gatlings are very not restrictive, and that might feel a little overwhelming at first, but I promise you, as soon as you mess with it just a little bit, this becomes very intuitive. It is so easy to just do stuff like kick slash sweep and get a knockdown, or kick slash sweep into a special move. These things are very simple, very intuitive. You will pick this up in no time. It's also worth noting that many more normals are jump cancelable. Jump punch for soul, jump cancelable. Stand kick, jump cancelable. Both hits, for that matter, are jump cancelable if I can wait long enough, because it's a very fast normal. Close S, jump cancelable. Standing heavy, jump cancelable. Much less restrictions on your overall buttons in this game. Again, most characters have some unique Gatlings. Some characters have specific Gatling rules that do not apply to others, and you'll have to check that out based on who you want to pick up in the game. But for the most part, you will find there are far less restrictions on what you can and cannot do in terms of chaining buttons for combos and chaining them for pressure. So that should be a nice change for those of you who've never experienced the old-style Gatlings in Guilty Gear. The next thing I want to talk about, command normals. Just like Guilty Gear Strive, most characters have multiple command normals. Pretty much every character in the game has at least 2. Many characters have 3 or more. For the most part, command normals also are less restrictive. You can Gatling into them from multiple things. You can combo them to multiple things. And for the most part, they often have unique properties. There are some very common threads. For example, forward punch, for the most part, 6AP, is still pretty much a universal. This move has upper body invulnerability and is a great way to anti-air an opponent. Some are more horizontal in nature, like Soul's forward punch here. Some are more designed to beat jump in or instant air dashes. But in general, 6P on the vast majority of the characters is, I don't have an upper body hurt box and I'm going to swat you out of the sky or away from me if you don't hit me with something that smacks me low. The next important thing I want to talk about is the dust button. Dust is notably different in this game. So there is no charge version of Dust. You cannot hold the button and get a different version. Each character has differing startups, active frames and recovery times on their dust. For the most part, dusts are very punishable on block. So there's no charging up the dust and having it blocked and being safe. That's very rare in Guilty Gear. It does exist in XRD, but it's the exception, not the rule. When you hit an opponent with dust, it is still an overhead. You have to block it standing high. You have two options. You have the ability to hold up, and you will get a homing jump, similar to what you get in Guilty Gear Strive. However, the screen transition is not near as gigantic. The other important thing to note is that it's very, very easy for most characters to get hard knockdown. Bam, Soul gets hard knockdown off air dust. The more common version of dust is that if you hold horizontal, left or right, when you hit with the dust, your opponent will actually go tumbling, and you can get wall stick combos. In the corner, for example, Soul can get stuff like this. Side dust combos are very unique. They're also very fun, oftentimes very swaggy to pull off. Mess with your character's side dust. It's very, very good. If you do not get them to a wall, in the vast majority of situations, characters are going to be able to attack. You will rarely be able to get hard knockdown off this. Soul can do it, but a lot of characters cannot reliably get hard knockdown off side dust unless you reach the wall. So something to keep in mind there. But yeah, no charge dust. Side dust is very important. It's a very powerful tool in this game. Homing dust is not often used, to be perfectly honest. There are some good combos with it. It's a very good beginner thing to learn if you hit someone with dust. But side dust is usually where you make the big money off a dust confirm. So keep that in mind. Next, what I would consider probably the biggest change, and this might take a little while to talk about, longer than I'd like, but it's very important. Throw. Throw is vastly different in the old games compared to Strive. So first things first. Throw, 0 startup. Throws do not have any startup frames. If you push forward and heavy, note I said heavy slash, throw is on heavy slash, not on dust in this game. And they are in throw range, and they are throw vulnerable. They're not doing something that renders them immune to a throw. You will throw them immediately. There is a ability to tech throws in this game, just like there is in Strive. The window is tiny. It's believed to be 2 frames for the most part. It's one of those things that's never been quite fully fleshed out, but the general consensus is you have a 2-frame window to tech a throw. Because throws are instant, and because they are on the heavy slash button, it's also important to note that throws, there is no throw whiff animation. If you whiff forward and heavy, you get forward heavy. If you whiff back and heavy, you get your standing heavy. As far as I remember, there are no characters with a back heavy command normal in this game. I might be brain farting on one. But if you whiff a throw, you're going to get your stand heavy. That's going to happen. This also means that unlike Strive, you cannot be dashing and get a throw. You have to stop dashing to throw your opponent. So if I just dash at bad guy and hold forward and heavy, I'm going to get forward heavy. I don't get a throw. I have to stop running, then do forward and heavy, then I get the throw. It's very important to note, throws are strong. They are very, very strong. 0 startup means that unlike a game like Guilty Gear Strive, where the mix-up between strike throw, aka doing a meaty on your opponent, or mixing them up with a throw after you make them block something, is not nearly as good on someone's wake-up. Allow me to show you. So I'm going to record... did I record it? Okay, perfect. So I have the computer here programmed to just do a basic combo into a knockdown, and then Soul's going to run up and just meaty me with his close S, right? Very common thing in Strive. Run up and meaty. If you don't want to do anything too fancy, you run up with someone, dare them to reversal you, or if they don't have a good reversal, force them to block if they try and mash on throw. If you try and mash on throw in that situation in Strive, you get counter hit. It's real bad. In XRD, allow me to show you what actually happens. So, if we have Soul do his thing. Didn't do it right the first time, because of course not, because I'm recording. Gripped. Notice I am mashing this. I am not even taking the effort to time this. Just sitting here mashing hard slash. Nope, none for you. Gripped. You have a reversal window for throw, and it is generous. It is not hard to reversal throw in this game. If you try to meaty people within throw range, and you're not using some kind of move that's designed to blow up someone trying to reversal throw you, they will grip you. It will absolutely happen. You don't even have to hold back. I can hold forward and get this. If I can time things right today, which I can't because I'm recording, and that's how it goes. There we go. Gripped out of the meat. This is going to be one of the biggest things that throws you off if you've started with Strive and you're coming to Xrd. Throws will definitely mess with your base idea of what you do on someone's knockdown. So, get used to this. Throws are powerful. If someone leaves a one frame gap and they're close to you, you can grip them. You can absolutely knock them down, get a hard knockdown. Throws are very, very strong. Also, because there is no throw whiff animation, an important thing to note is that throw option selects do exist in Xrd. You can do things like forward S plus heavy slash. Heavy slash has the lowest priority in Xrd, which means that if you, for example, do forward S and heavy slash, and you're not in throw range, you're going to get probably close slash. If you're right within throw range, you get the throw. Something that's very important, you can do this with any button. You can do like punch and throw if you want to get a forward punch. This is a very valid strategy. Doing forward punch, if I'm out of range, I'm going to get forward punch. If I am in range, get a throw. What you cannot do is you cannot do this with back. Doing two buttons with back will always give you faultless defense. You cannot option select with faultless defense. This will never work. There is no world where you can option select with that. The only way it happens is if you mistime it, you're only getting one button, then you get the throw, but you cannot option select into faultless defense and get a throw. That's a very, very old legacy thing, and trust me, it's good that it's gone. It was ridiculously powerful. But the main thing to take away here, throws have no startup. There is no whiff animation. You cannot do them while dashing. This also applies to air throws, exactly the same thing. So if we go have soul jump here, zero startup. Absolute same thing. Same thing also applies here. You can option select things by hitting forward and slash plus heavy slash. And just like you cannot throw dashing, you cannot throw while you're in an air dash. You have to come completely out of an air dash before you can grab someone. So that's important to know. It's not like Strive where you can air dash at someone and grab them in the air. So throws are strong. They're very different. They're very powerful. I highly suggest practicing the reversal throw timing. I highly suggest practicing option selects. It will be a huge, huge boon to you if you work on this right out the gate, because throws are a huge part of old Guilty Gear, and they are powerful. Next, real quick, let's talk about overdrives, supers. So a lot of what applies in Guilty Gear Strive applies here. Supers still cost 50% meter. Overdrives cost half a bar. If you have 100%, you can Roman cancel them if you so desire, so you can do bump. They are, if you have them in your you can do that. There's a couple important different things about Xrd supers. So one, if you fall below 20% health, so if we take our health value here, whoops, that's the opponent, and knock ourselves below 20%. Note, it's not right when you get to below 20%, it's when you hit 20% health or less after you are out of hit stun or block stun or wake up. If your opponent is comboing you, you don't automatically enter this status, which is called Hellfire, until you are out of the combo or until you wake up from being knocked down. Once you have gotten up and this status activates, you'll see it with the flashing bar up there. Your life bar starts to flash. Overdrives now do 20% extra damage. So if I hit Soul with Tyrant Wave while we're in Hellfire, notice how the bar is past the name and everything there. Does a pretty nice amount. So we go back up to above 20%. Do Tyrant Rave again. 20% less damage. So Hellfire is a mini comeback mechanic. It only applies to overdrives. It is not a universal damage buff. That only goes on overdrives. But it is important to note. Next, Xrd brought the addition of what are called burst overdrives or burst supers. Every character has at least one super where instead of doing the button with heavy slash, they can use dust if they have a full burst, and you get a burst version over the overdrives. These, all universally have iframes. Every burst overdrive has iframes on it, so you can invulnerable through things if someone tries to do things on your wake up. 2, they all do more damage universally. Same thing, burst overdrives tend to do roughly 20% more damage than their base form. This varies from overdrive to overdrive. And certain overdrives, when you do them with burst, get unique properties that others do not. It's character-based or character-specific. You'll just have to look up and see if yours gets any specific properties. The other important thing to note about burst overdrive, so if I set burst to not infinite, if you whiff a burst overdrive, you get nothing. No meter. Your burst is completely empty. It's very similar to whiffing a burst in Guilty Gear Strive. You go to a completely empty meter, and you're going to have slower recovery. If you hit with a burst overdrive, so we'll give ourselves meter back, you will immediately gain back 1/3 of the burst meter and have normal burst recovery. So bursts usually, for the most part, burst overdrives, pardon me, are usually going to be used for when you need a little bit of extra damage to finish off a life bar and take a round, or when you are capitalizing on, say, a very high cranked guard bar to maximize your damage, cash out as much as you can, or you need some kind of reversal that has actual iframes on characters that do not normally have that option available to them. Venom is a good example. Has no innate iframe reversal. His burst version of Dark Angel has iframes and can actually be used as a reversal. So, other than those two things, bursts overdrives pretty much act the same as they do in Strive. They pretty much universally give hard knockdown in almost every situation. Some do not. There's some with unique properties, obviously, but in general, if you hit someone with an overdrive, you're going to get a hard knockdown. It may not be a good hard knockdown. As you can see, Tyrant Rave sends them flying across the screen. It's not particularly the greatest knockdown for Soul ever, but those work. I'm trying to think if there are any bursts or overdrives that have wall splat to kind of simulate something that happens in Strive, and none are sticking off the top of my head. But yeah, overdrives otherwise pretty much the same. The last offensive thing I want to talk about today is actually the mode that made Guilty Gear famous in the first place, and that is IK mode, instant kill. XRD still has the instant kill system that was made infamous in the original Guilty Gear. If you don't know, the original Guilty Gear had a mechanic where you could do moves that if you hit your opponent, not only did you instantly win that round on the spot, you won the match. It actually just gave you both wins right off the spat. If you were playing best of 5 rounds, you just still won. It gave you all 3. In this case, if you hit someone with an instant kill, it just gives you that round, whether it's your first or your second or however many you have it set to. For the most part, instant kills are not practical in any kind of normal level play. If you try to activate IK mode and hit someone with your IK, they tend to have very poor startup. They tend to have minimal to no iframes on them. So it's not something you need to worry about learning, that if you're just in the middle of a round to decide to go kablam, I'm in IK mode and try and kill someone. People will do it. People will definitely try and make this happen. It's not a sound strategy. Let's just put it that way. Important to note how the IK mode works. You hit all 4 main buttons, punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, at the same time to go into IK mode. You can cancel out of IK mode by doing the same thing, hitting those 4 buttons again. When you are in IK mode, you lose access to all meter mechanics. You cannot FD, you cannot use Roman cancel, you cannot do anything that requires meter whatsoever. As the meter goes down, however much meter you started with, you'll see the meter slowly draining here. Once you run out of IK meter, your health starts to slowly tick down. You can't see it because I have infinite health on. Let me... there we go. Your health will start to rapidly tick down over time if you run out of meter while in IK mode. So, just innate IK mode is nothing special. You will rarely see this used in any kind of practical play. If you go into IK mode and you whiff an instant kill, your bar is gone. You do not have a bar for the rest of the round, which means, again, you cannot do any meter-based mechanics. You cannot faultless defense to negate chip damage. You cannot use Roman cancel. You cannot use overdrives. Any of it. It's all off the table. It's gone. You can still instant block, but that's it. That's like the only main kind of defensive mechanic or meter influencing mechanic you have access to. The one thing to note is that instant kills do have a unique property in this game, where once your opponent is below 20%, again, which is a magic threshold in this game, and you have to be on game point. So if you were playing a standard 2 out of 3 rounds, you already have to have your first round won, and this has to be the game-winning point. But if you are at this, if your opponent's below 20% and you have meter, instant kill activates and actually freezes the screen. You saw how Soul stopped breathing there? He's just not moving anymore. This does enable a multitude of situations where you can combo into instant kills for executes. Ways to take away that last 20%, or technically 19%, that are oftentimes unburstable or inescapable. Let's just show you a prime example. So if I do Wild Throw, Soul's Command Grab, in this game it bounces. It's an untouchable ground bounce. Well, if we do this and then go into IK mode, you saw how everything freezes? You can combo into IKs in this game. Some characters have it far more practical than others. Some have burst safe setups off, for example, their regular throw. You can do stuff like Roman Cancel, go IK, and combo. It's different for every character, but it is important to note this is a thing. It does exist, and you can utilize it when your opponent is below that 20% threshold on game point. Only on game point. That freeze in the animation will not happen if you are not on the game-winning round. So keep that in mind. That's it. That's the main overview for the basic offensive options as in Guilty Gear XRD compared to Strive. This is a little bit longer than I wanted, but there's a lot to go over. Throw as a mechanic is so much different and influences the game so much differently overall than it does in Strive that really deserves the explanation. And again, the Gatling system is so much more robust, has so many more options, so much more freeform. You're going to find a plethora of more ways to do pressure, to do frame traps, to do stagger pressure, and a plethora more ways to get confirms, combos, and all that sorts of fun stuff. So that's what we got for today. Next one will probably be on the basic defensive mechanics. But for now, I'm going to stop talking and try and keep these short so people can digest them easily. As always, I appreciate the support. If you like and subscribe, that's cool. I do appreciate it very much. If you want to stop by, I am streaming Guilty Gear at least once a week on my YouTube channel. So if you want to stop by and see me playing live matches, doing analysis, giving information, and helping people learn the game more, feel free to drop by sometime. I also have channel memberships and all that good stuff because I am trying to make at least something off my YouTube. Because as I said in the first video, Twitch is kind of a dumpster fire right now, and that is my full-time job. So, oops. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you very much. Y'all take care. Be good to each other. And I will catch you on the next guide. Peace.